Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome Irene Lube from Central European University, Vienna, Austria. Irene, please introduce yourself and start the workshop.
Thank you very much, Lini. Morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today, and I want to thank Photos for the opportunity to do this workshop with everyone. Game-based learning is something that I really feel very passionate about, which I enjoy. I'm not necessarily great at games, but I do love the idea of game-based learning, and then as it linked to Ludic pedagogy. So I see we are only a small group today. I don't know if the length of the workshop scared people away, or if I think there's so many other very interesting sessions running concurrently. But thank you for those of you who are here. And I think without much further ado, I let us start. Oh, I was sometimes it takes a few seconds before everything pops up there. So we'll give just a few seconds more for people who are joining, but thank you very much, everyone that is here. It is nice to see some familiar names and some familiar faces. Here in Austria, it's getting quite winter. It's cold here in Vienna. Not as nice and warm as it is in South Africa, but I send you at least my warm greetings from here. So for today, I want us to look at some basic principles of game-based learning. And you know, I just quickly want to close the pop-ups here on my screen. I'm sorry, and then I'll come back. Otherwise, it keeps on popping up here. Okay, I think it's done. There you go. Okay, so we are going to look then at some of the basic principles of game-based learning, and hopefully we're going to start the process of developing your own games. And specifically today, we're going to look at an escape room or a treasure hunt possibly. And we are going to play a few games as well. And maybe here at the beginning of this session, I need to do a short disclaimer and say I am not a gamer. I don't play Candy Crush and Monopoly and all those games at all, which makes it kind of weird that I like educational games. But I think that is maybe the huge difference here, that educational games have an educational purpose, and that is why I really like these games. So for today, we're going to start quick, and I see we are a nice group. Now I've closed the number of people here at the side. Oh, okay, we're a nice group of about 20 participants. So we're going to have a quick just hello and the introduction. And I know your mics is off, so I'm going to ask you in the chats to introduce yourself, but we'll come to that. We'll focus a little bit on some of the threshold concepts, and here I want to give a quick spoiler alert. Take notes while we do the threshold concepts. You will use it later during the session. We'll do a little bit of the logistics and everything, and then we are going to play. And we are going to play two games today, one before lunch and one after lunch, depending on how the time works. And for the games we are going to play, I'm going to send you in breakout rooms. Now, please, when we send you to breakout rooms, please don't disappear. I saw it this morning with the introductions as well. In two of the three breakout rooms, I was all alone and all by my lonesome self. So please, if we send you, there are tasks allocated, and it makes the experience so much richer and more fun if there's other people in your room as well, and you don't have to sit and play the game all by yourself. And yeah, that will be more or less the entire day. So We're going to play the games. We're going to look at some principles. We're going to have a stretch over lunchtime, and we're going to play some more games, and we're going to unpack games, and we are going to start creating your own game. Now, this is supposed to be very, very informal, and I want us to, please, if you have a question, please give a shout or give a shout to the moderator. I can't keep my eyes on the chat as well. I'm not good at multitasking. So if I need to read the chat while I'm talking, I stop mid-sentence and then I read and then I lose my entire train of thought. So I'm going to ask the moderator if there's any questions that she will just give me a shout and say there's some questions there. But then without much further ado, let us start so that we can get to the fun part where you have to create your game as well. During this sessions, we are going to make use of some QR codes and some links. So if you do not have a QR code scanner, I want to ask that maybe within the next few minutes when we start with our introductions, I'm going to ask you to download a QR code scanner. You can look in the Apple Play Store or in the Google Store. There should be a QR code scanner, and please download the free one. I'm all about free stuff and free games and free apps and things, so please download the free one, a free QR code scanner if you can find one. So, and I didn't realize earlier on that all your mics is going to be off. But what I want you to do now is then in the chat, maybe just quickly introduce yourself, because I don't know you and I'm not sure if you know one another. So I want you to just say, my name is Irene, although we can now see that my name's Irene. I'm from CEU. I've been teaching for 20 years and I've used games before. Yes. So it's Irene, CEU, 20 years. Yes. And then I am going to ask you to just wait about 30 seconds and then you can press submit and then all of those will pop up in the chat. Okay, you can press enter. Let's see. Oh. Okay, I'm not going to read it out loud. I'm going to quickly scan through it, and I'm going to ask you also to scan through to see who is in the group. Oh, Midrand. I used to live there. Okay, there's some yeses, some no's. Some of you have got quite a lot of experience. 20 years, 15 years, games used. From Ricestrain. Okay, so it seems as if we have quite a mix of people here from different institutions, different backgrounds, different years of experience in teaching and different levels of use of games. Now, today's session is really going to focus on basic games. So maybe this is also a great time to tell you, if you are familiar with games and creating games, and I obviously definitely do not want you to leave the workshop necessarily, but this might then be a bit boring for you. But I hope that even though you've used it before, that there will be some ideas and tips and things that you can find. And if there's nothing for you that you can take away, hopefully you will be able to contribute and help the others in the breakout rooms and give them some guidance and ideas as well. So hopefully this will be then a give and to take both sides for all our participants. So thank you very much for introducing yourself and telling me your experience. And from there, I think we can now really get this party going and look and see what we can do with games and how we can use it to teach our students. Now, originally, I wanted to start this workshop first with a game, and we're still going to play the game. But I realized that people might join a little bit late, and I don't want people to join midway through a game. And I think this is an important concept also when we use games for our students and in our teaching sessions, especially online where we know there's issues with load shedding and the internet that's not always as reliable, that we paste it and place it in a place in our session where we are sure that students had enough time to connect and come into the session so that they can have the full experience and the full value of these games that we want to share with them or that we want them to experience. So if we then look at a little bit of the theory, and this is really not high level theory. I don't want to bore you with theoretical principles and key opinion leaders and all this. I want to touch on a basic few things that you need to remember when you create your own game for your students. So please, again, if I go too fast or too slow, give me an indication and I will speed it up or I will pause a moment. Now, one of the big things that we would need to quickly just distinguish before we go any further into games and game-based learning is that there's a difference between gamification on the one hand and game-based learning on the other hand. So if we look at gamification, that is where we will incorporate some elements of games in our teaching and learning. And that's where we have badges and leaderboards and very much extrinsic reward. Everyone can see they are winning. It's like when we do a quiz in class, or we play the weakest link in class, or we do a Kahoot or something. So here we encourage engagement in the class or in the session. We reinforce positive behavior. Yes, if you've got the answer correct, everyone goes, yeah, wow, that's correct. And the student get immediate feedback whether it is correct or incorrect. And here we think also about things like flashcards and the small quizzes we play with our students. And there is definitely a place for that. And in our session this afternoon after lunch, you will see how we incorporate these gamification principles into our own game as well, where we use things like flashcards and Kahoots and things into our other game. But our focus for today is much more on game-based learning. And for game-based learning, here we use the games linked to an educational purpose. So there's a specific learning outcome that we want to reach, and we want the student to emerge in this. And I'm now not talking augmented reality and virtual reality, but they must be part and parcel of this game. They must be the hero or one of the players. They must have a specific role in this game. Where in gamification, they could just answer yes, no, or click on one of the 4 MCQ buttons. Here, they are part and parcel of the game. So again, definitely engagement. But the nice thing about game-based learning is that we create an environment for our students where they are free to fail and to learn. So they can make a mistake, they can see the consequences, and they can come back and retry again. And there are always peer-to-peer teaching and peer-to-peer learning in the games and in the way we play the games. And that links back to our earlier point when I said, so if some of you have got quite extensive experience with games and creating games, that in the breakout rooms when we do these activities that we are going to do, that you will be able to assist your peers as well. And that links to the nice theory of pedagogy. So not pedagogy, pedagogy. So that was one of the new terms I came across lately, but that is then where we have peer-to-peer teaching and peer-led teaching as well. But we will park that term for later on. So if we then look back and summarize then what is game-based learning all about? It is meeting a specific learning outcome. So the student learn as a result of this game, and we develop some of the transferable skills. So skills like problem solving, skills like critical thinking is is embedded in these games. So if we have as one of our learning outcomes that we, or one of the aims of our teaching, that we want to develop critical skills in our students so that they will be able to challenge their own assumptions, they will be able to put themselves in someone else's shoes, then game-based learning is a nice way of doing that. On a side note there as well, one just needs to be very careful of trauma-informed pedagogy, where we put the student in a role that they are uncomfortable with. And here we think of putting them in a role of a slave in a previous century and things like that. So we need to be very conscious of our students' feelings and those aspects as well when we create our games. So, in summary, gamification, short leaderboards, fun, and rewards. Game-based learning focused on learning outcomes and active learning. I just want to check in the chats, any questions there? No. Okay, perfect. Now, when we develop games for learning, and this is now irrespective of whether it is game-based learning or gamification, there are the FAIR principles that we use. And as I said at the beginning of the session, remember to make script notes of some of these things. So the FAIR principles actually links to our feedback. So if we create a game, there needs to be feedback, and we'll touch on this again when we unpack one of the other games a little bit later on. So feedback to the students, making it active rather than passive. So we don't want them just to sit and watch or just to click. They need to be involved in this game. They need to play an active role in this game. And then we obviously want to make it individualized, and we want to personalize the learning for the students, so that one student, if they know the content, can go faster. Another student, if they are not as familiar with the content, they can go slower. They can go just learn more and come back. And then obviously as well, we need to make sure that the learning is relevant for the student. So when we create the game, as I said earlier on, how does this link to our learning outcome? What is the relevance of them playing this game for their own learning? Now, we also use games because there's really a huge power in the narrative, in being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. We further use our games because it is a time-tested pedagogy. There's a lot of evidence that shows that games work. We want to give the student voice and choice, and we want to allow them to self-pace their learning. And again, we want to create a safe place for them to try things and to fail and to retry again. Now, if we then look at the values of games, and I promise you we will not spend too much time on just me talking. So we will move away from just this one directional chat in a short while. But if we then look quickly at the value of games, for us as lecturers, the value is that we can personalize the curriculum. We can individualize and personalize it for the student so that they can pace their own learning. For the student, there's really a lot of values as well, and these are just some of the advantages and values for the student. So as we said, the graceful failure, they can fail, they can try. It's a safe environment. It's not as if they've done something and the patient died and there is no going back. So they can try and see what is the consequences if I do this, if I select this option, if I do this choice, this will be the consequences. Then it motivates and engages them, and hopefully when we play the other games now in a short while, that you will see that while you're in the game, it is very difficult to go and to sit and WhatsApp and read your emails, that it keeps your attention, it keeps you motivated, you want to continue hopefully through this game and complete the game. There's also a principle of fairness in the games because all students go through the same challenges. And for us as lecturers, it standardized the assessment. And I really wanted to put the assessment in Aanhalingstekens, né? Because we don't want to use games for assessment as such. We don't want to make it high stake assessments. We don't want to link it to marks for the students, maybe a completion mark, but not really 80% or 70%, because we want all our students to go through the game and to have success and to complete the game at the end. So, but there's the fairness there that everyone has the same experience, more or less, in our games. Then again, they give feedback, immediate feedback, if they select an incorrect choice, if they took the wrong path, that there will be feedback to say, that was not the best one because of this, let's try again. And in this case, it reinforced the learning. So we can facilitate their learning. But for me as a lecturer, I think one of the nicest things about using games is that I can repurpose the content. I can create a game, and you'll see the first one that we are going to play took me 3 days and 3 nights originally when I created it. It doesn't look like that, but it did, because I created it on PowerPoint and then I converted it to storyline. But it took me quite some time to create it. But the nice thing, now I can go back and I can change it. Last night I realized one of the links isn't working, so I can quickly go and change just that link, or I can put in a new image or a new piece of content or theory that I wanted to put in the game. So you don't have to create these games from scratch every time. And then for the student, and for us obviously, but for the student, they have a way of showing their understanding to us. So do they understand the concepts? Do they understand the implication? Do they understand the different choices that they have to make? And they can practice their critical thinking skills, looking at their own assumptions, putting themselves in someone else's shoes and thinking, but how would someone else feel, or why would someone else make this choice? And if I'm them, this would be the impact on my life. It also helps to reinforce further knowledge, because in a game we can scaffold the experience and the learning, and it allows them to express of the 9 intelligences, or some of the variety of these intelligences, and we're not going to spend time on that at this stage, but then it also helps the students to make meaningful connections between the content. So how do they link this, if I can use a health-related example, how do they link this treatment or this medication with this health education, with this activity, with this outcome, with this intervention that they need to do? So how do they connect all these dots in, again, a safe environment where there is a place for them to fail and to learn? So in summary then, we use games because it facilitates learning, it's engaging, and it should be fun. If the students do not enjoy the game, you need to go back and see where can you redesign, because it should include a component of fun. But it also addresses the hidden curriculum. So if we look at the 6 C's of our hidden curriculum, of critical thinking, of collaboration, and for me, one of the most important ones there are communication. How do we address these communication skills and allowing students to play these games in collaboration, in a team exercise, allow them to practice these skills as well. So when we create our game later on, we need to look and see how do we incorporate all of these aspects then into the game we want to create. So we can use it really for a lot of things. If I knew beforehand who of you would attend this workshop, I would have sent you maybe some homework that you could play the game that we are going to play now before the time, so that you can experience the game, that you can make sure that you know the threshold concepts we're going to use. So that's one way you can use games, as a self-paced, individualized way. You can use games and things like the flashcards with a cram game for students to help them to prepare for a test. And for especially now in our COVID time with distance learning, we can help the student to interact with the content and learn that. And we can use it for a digital exit ticket. So once the student have completed the game, they can submit a digital exit ticket, and you can conclude that they have, you can declare them competent in this section of the work. And a few last points I want to touch in on then is then how do you design your game, or what are the things that you think about. And after lunch, we are going to come back to this again. So I don't want to go too deep into this for now, but this is also important for the game you're going to play right now. So if we then look at how to design the game, we start with the end in mind. If you think of backward design, what do we want the student to achieve? What's the competency we want them to have at the end of our session and the end of the game? So if we want them to develop the communication skills, then we build in those skills in our game. If we want them to be able to work out medication dosages and how do we give the medication to the patient, then we work that learning outcome and that skill into the game. So we start with what do we want them to achieve, and we start with the content, and then we scaffold our game in such a way. We also, if we design our game, we need to storyboard our game, which is a really important concept for us to decide how do we want to direct the game, the direction. So is it a linear game? And you'll see the first one we're going to play is very much a linear game. And then the second game after lunch has more branching pathways as well. Limited branches, but you can see the branches there. And a very important thing of games is that you will celebrate the success. At the end of the game, it's very disheartening if you play this game and you immersed in it and you finished the conquest and you came out the hero and the winner, and you press submit and it's done, and they say, congratulations, you have completed the game. You can now exit the game. That is such a letdown. So you need to decide, how are you going to celebrate this success? How are you going to make the woo-ha? Is there going to be banners and a clapping of hand and a woo, you have made it? Or how will you end this game? But we need to end it on a high point as well for our students. And then part of your design is also, will this be a single player? Will this be a team player? Will it be collaborative or cooperative learning? And that is very important when you design your game as well. So will they collaborate, that each one will do their little part of the game? So this one will answer these questions, and this one will go and do a Google search on these things, and they will come back and they will collate the information. Or will it be a cooperative learning session that everyone goes together at the same pace, do the same things, and they have to discuss there and talk and problem solve, and then as a group they move on to the next level. And then obviously, what's the level of competitiveness that you want in your game? And then you need to look at the content, and you will see I will touch on this a few times during our session today, is that content is important. We start with content. We do not decide we want to create a game and then we're going to start and then, oh, let's add this content and this content in our game. We purposefully plan when we storyboard as well, and we say, what is the content we want to focus on? And it really helps to put that in the middle of your planning board to every time to come back to the content, say, am I still on track? Is it still my focus area, still where I want to focus? And then again, also then you need to decide, why do you want to play? Why do you want to create this game? Why do you want to ask the students to play this game? Is it just for fun, for an icebreaker, to set the tone? Or is it for revision? Or do you want to teach these transferable skills like communication skills, like critical thinking? What is at stake? What's the purpose here? And then again, and this is, as I said earlier on, you need to think very carefully about this. will this be part of assessment? So if it's part of formative assessment, where it's not marks, but it forms their own learning, it helps them, it guides them, then it is fine. But if you have a game and it relates to marks, 80%, 70%, I really want to say rethink the way you want to use it here. We really do not want students to not enjoy and learn at the same time. And if there's marks involved, very often we divert from the engagement, the fun, and the collaboration. Then you will also see in our game we are going to play that there is a magic circle. Now, to me, it looks more like a triangle, to be quite honest. So let's put in a kind of a circle there. But every time you create a game, you should incorporate this magic circle. So there must be a challenge. So if we look at the two games we're going to play, is there a challenge in the games? And if the challenge isn't challenging enough, how would we convert this to make it challenging for our students? So they start with a challenge. Then obviously there must be a response from the student side. So they must make a decision, they must do something. And as they make the decision or do something, then there is immediate feedback to whether the response was good, bad, or the next reaction. So to conclude this very theoretical part, or to nearly conclude this, my one colleague, Dr. Ina Hallo, always said, what is your point to ponder on? So what do you really, if you now think of all the things we've said up to now, what is the main takeaway here? And for me, it was really, or it would be to really think about what is the purpose of the game I want to create. What is the aim? What's the aim for the student and for me? And then from there on, do the design and again decide completion mark or no mark at all. So for me, this is really the question I want to ask you as well as you create your game. What is your purpose, and how will the students then use this game to reach this purpose that you have in mind? Now, there's different opinions about the topic for your game. Tim Slade says, don't take a boring topic. Duncan, not your Prof. Duncan, another Duncan said, take the one that everyone hates. Take the one that's really that's boring and make that exciting and create that as something new and engaging for your students. So one of the examples I can maybe share with you, and some of you might know about this, for public health, we had a very nice escape room that we created where people needed to look at the assessment policies. And as you all know, assessment policies is really, really a boring thing. I don't think many of us get excited about reading an assessment policy, but it is a crucial part that we as lecturers need to be aware of. So we took that and we converted that into an escape room activity for the lecturers. And it was quite fun, even if I have to say so. So that is one of the examples where you can take a topic that is not as engaging and how to convert that into something more fun and enjoyable for the students. Now we get two types of games. The one is the one that students create, and the importance of allowing students to create games is also to allow them to show their understanding of the games. So if we ask them create whatever game they want to create, we can see, do they connect the dots? Do they understand the concepts? Can they see the consequences of some of these decisions that they are making? And the other option then obviously is the ones that you create as a lecturer, which is really time intensive, but worth the effort. And you can see whether the students understand the work while they are playing it. So one of the examples I want to show you, and this is a screen grab that I made from a webinar I've attended quite a little while ago. And the lecturer here, or the teacher, uses student-created games in a primary school, in a very young age students, where they have to create their own games. And I am sure if we give this activity to our students, they would really surprise us with the games they make. The other option then, as I said, is games that you as the lecturer create. So this would be one of the scenes that I've made for an escape room, and then hide some of the activities in this escape room for the participants, and they have to find the clues and escape the room. And this is one of the games you will play. Not this one, but one of those that you will hopefully be able to play in a while. So, how do we take this boring content that I have now subjected you to and convert it into something much more engaging, much more fun, so that you don't necessarily just sit there and I just pour all these things and force you to listen to me whether you are interested or not, and you might have even considered looking at your WhatsApps quickly, looking at the program and see is there not maybe another session that has some more interesting content. So if I want to keep you here and I have now this boring content that I've done, how could we convert that? And that is hopefully what we will do now. So we are going to take these threshold concepts, and I really do hope it works. And I am going to give you access to this game. Sorry. Sorry. To this game, and I've tried 2 different versions. So first of all, I'm going to try and see if you can play this one that is on storyline 3. And Elsie will pop the link for you in the chat there as well. Let me just quickly open up and see if we have everyone here. Okay. So I'll take a little bit of time to see whether people can access this game, because after we've accessed I've shared this with you, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. So, and please don't leave your other people, because it's very, very, very not nice to be the only one in a breakout room. So I want you to open this and then see if you can link to this game. Now this game is embedded in one of my modules, so I'm giving you guest access to my module, but only to the game. So please don't go and do things in my module, just play the game. And this was my first module that I built as well, so it's, yeah, anyway. So there's the game. So I want you to see if you can access it. Log in as a guest, and there's the guest key as well. So CTAL, Center for Teaching and Learning, and there's the code, and then you can enter it. But just open it. Ah, wonderful, I'm in, someone says. Thanks, Terence. Okay, so don't play now. I just want to give everyone a few more minutes to see whether they can open it, and then we will send you into breakout rooms of about 4 or 5 people. But before I send you, I just quickly want to go through the rules and the requirements for you. So what we want to do, and I will post it again. You can use the QR code as well. Let's hope the QR code works. But it's easier. It's easier if you do it on the computer, and I'll give you silent moments so that you can actually play it in your groups without me talking, and you can switch between the browser windows, hopefully. But what I want you to do is, okay, this was the backup if it didn't work. So let me just go. Okay. So before we send you in the breakout rooms, when you are in the breakout rooms, you are going to do role allocation. And this is also something important when you use this for your students. that when you send them in for any activity in a breakout room, that you allocate roles for them. So, okay, I see people are leaving. I just thought the breakout room started already. So no, that's fine. So that you allocate roles to your student. Now, this is a role allocator that is freely available. So you can scan that, or you can click on the link that will also be in the chat, and it should open this role allocator for you. And you can spin it. And because it's a random thing, sometimes it will roll on the same name again. So just spin it again. But in your groups then of 4 or 5 people, quickly put your names in alphabetical order and spin the wheel. And as the wheel stops, that's the first roll, the second roll, the third roll, and then allocate roles like that. It might be that you land on the role where you are the IT person, the share the screen person, and you can't do share screening. Then please just negotiate with your other friends in your breakout room and say, but can I swap? I'll be the timekeeper because I can't share my screen. Will you please share your screen? So it's really important that you'll be able to share and discuss with your colleagues the game. So one person will open the game, or everyone can open the game, but one will share it so that you can see how the game plays and you can discuss. So this is not collaborative learning, it's cooperative learning. You all need to stay on track at the same time, do the same things. Okay, okay, this we do not need to do. So before we send you, this is the synopsis. So it is a Friday afternoon. You're on your way home. You have your briefcase in your hand, and then your HOD sent you the WhatsApp, but you really do regret reading. And your HOD said there is an emergency staff meeting quickly in your office where you are. We are coming to your office. And as you go back into your office, the door shuts, and then you realize, but there's a digital lock at the door and you don't have the code. So your Uber is waiting outside, you need to leave, but you are stuck. So now you need to get out. And this is what it will look like. So when you open it, eventually, when you go through your names and everything of your team, this is what you will see. And you will see in your game, you have to click on certain things there, solve the riddles and continue. But maybe a small tip, somewhere in your documents there or in that room is a document. So find the document first. That will make it so much easier for you. Find the document, write down the answers to your questions, and let's see what happens. So, any questions up to here on this? Let me quickly open the chats. Let's see. Okay. Okay. It seems as if most of you were able to get into the game. If you are in a breakout room where no one has access to the game, please give us a shout to come back to the main room and let's see if we can assist you in that. So it is now 10 past 11 basically. Can I ask the moderator to send you in breakout rooms until 11:30, and then we'll swish you back. And please, again, please don't leave. Please support your friends in the breakout room. Let's quickly just put the code in there again. So there's the link in the chat. And the code is, if I can find the code again, there's the, oops. Okay, so okay, we are going to send you into the breakout rooms now. So stand tight. We're going to do time travel. Let me just check here. Elsie, are you able to send them to breakout rooms? Thank you very much, Elsie. I appreciate. Elsie or Lendini. Lendini. My tongue is twisting today.
No, it's okay.
Do you want to pause the recording while they are away? I'm not sure if you can pause and just continue again, or do you want to keep the recording on?
They'll be away for 20 minutes, ne?
Yes.
I think we can stop it and then start again
Okay.
because we do not have the pause option.
Okay. And will you be able to just link it again to one another?
Yes.
Okay. How was the session? How was the game? Oh, and I think I am kicked out again. Ha. Anyone? Oh, okay, that's fine. Anyone wants to unmute and say, how was the experience? Otherwise, I will have to pick on people. Terence, yes, you are welcome.
Yeah, I didn't want to get picked on. No, I'm kidding. No, I thought it was really good. It reminded me of kind of like a text-based adventure, like those old books that we used to have. I liked it. Yeah, it also I've never done that pixel reveal kind of puzzle before. I know we did. It was kind of filled in for us, but it was such an interesting idea. I've never experienced that. So yeah, now I've learned some new tricks. Um, I love the story that goes all the way through. It was really nice to have that theme. As you said, like the theme and the narrative that it's like a golden thread that keeps you going till throughout the end. And yeah, the puzzles were quite challenging. Some of them we were like, what are we supposed to do here? But that challenge is also something that kept us engaged as well. So I think overall I had lots of fun playing, and it was really fun getting to know the people in my group as well.
Thank you very much. And I think that is where one needs to find the balance between too difficult and too easy. We don't want our students to not learn. If we said in the beginning that we do game-based learning because we have a specific learning outcome to achieve, and I know your challenges was really kind of random, and maybe part of my hidden curriculum when I use this game for my students, if I remember to clear the pixel art next time, is actually to expose them to some of the different things that they can do for their students, from flashcards to there's some other things, the code hidden in the rock and everything. But then you also look at your game dynamics. You think, okay, in the beginning they need to struggle a bit. They need to form a team. They need to get the team dynamics right. So we don't necessarily want that as an academic thing. What is the definition of behaviorism, or those things. We really want them to just get into the mode of, guys, the time's ticking and we are struggling, and where can we find the answer? And hopefully that will then get the team dynamics up and going. So we really need to decide what we want. But if we expose our students to this type of games and we ask them to create these games, the danger is always that they might get too deep in the story. They rather want to focus on the island and the beach and all the other things, and they do not necessarily focus on the content as much. But that is I like it. I really do like it. So with and I like to use it. I just quickly want to check in the chats. At times frustrating, and that is part of the game. If that's part of our game mechanics that we want to build in, that it must be a little bit frustrating and a little bit challenging at times. We don't want them, otherwise we could have given them, or I could have given you a multiple choice question where you could have tick, tick, tick the right answer. So part of the game dynamics is, again, problem solving, communication with your team, those transferable skills that we teach our students. I will not pick on a specific group here, and those skills we want to develop. So how do we then create an activity for our students to do this? And even the pixel reveal art can work as kind of multiple choice questions, or even things like statistical analysis, where we want our students to do some statistical analysis and they have to fill in the answer and then the image reveal. And maybe as a confession to my procrastination, I actually made a chameleon pixel art reveal activity when I should have done something different, but it was so much fun to start playing and creating these things that one do get carried away with it. So let's quickly now look. We've seen what worked well. Maybe what didn't work. What was frustrating in this game? And Lisa, maybe I can pick on you. Nah? What was the frustration part here?
I think the frustration part actually, sorry, am I online? Sorry.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. The frustration, it was fun frustration, but also you're having to work with your team, and your team is actually saying one thing, and you're saying one thing, and then you're trying to work it all out. And I think that it is the team dynamics. And then also when you think you have the word and it's not the right word, you think, okay, where did I go wrong? And which is part of, I know it's part of learning, but that can be frustrating. I was just speaking to one of the members in our team, and we're just saying with our students at some of the levels, we don't want it so frustrating that they give up, first of all, and second of all, where to actually, the problem is where to pitch it at the students, especially if they're second language learners. I mean, English, if English isn't their first language. And I think that is because you still want to keep them engaged, but you want them at the same time to know what the words mean. So yeah.
Definitely. And if one think of those type of frustrations, and again, one is very careful, and today I didn't. I sent you all over the place. Go and click on Edpuzzle, go and click on Cram, go click on this thing. So I really sent you to different browsers, and we do not necessarily want us to do that with our students, because then they get sidetracked, and before long they see a funny video of a cat, and then they are lost forever. But one of the possibilities is also then to hyperlink the words, especially if there's words that you think they might struggle with, that you could hyperlink that word for them so that they can click on the word, and then the word is explained, or it goes into, and that is where, now I'm interrupting myself, but when we talk about the individualized and the personalized learning for the students, where they can click on a button maybe for, oh, I don't understand, or I want some more clarity on this, and then they can take them to this branch and they can see the definition and the explanation, and then come back to their path on which they are and continue in there. And hopefully, if they if they are peer-to-peer teaching, they are in a group, that they will also support one another, and then and explain to one another. And yes, sometimes they explain incorrectly, but hopefully then the peer-to-peer teaching will help them there. Can I pick on someone else? Kevin, can I pick on you?
You can pick on me.
Thanks. Your thoughts, positive or negative,
In general,
in general about the
um,
games?
I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'd love to see how we can incorporate it into our own offerings. But I think even more than that, I learned a lot from my fellow teammates, and I really felt it was an enriching experience.
Thank you very much. So I think, and I know this was now a long hour, so I will give you a quick 5 minute break because our session goes on to just before 4, so there's another hour left. So I want to give you a 5 minute break just to stretch and to recuperate after the island experience. But I think you can all give yourselves a hand and say, well done. You played well with your friends and well together, and you actually solved the riddles and you escaped. So well done to all of you. I am proud of you. So I am going to give you 5 minutes to just stretch your legs and come back. The link to the game will be open for a few more days. So if you want to play it a few more times, you are more than welcome. If you want to go through it, and if you pick up mistakes in the game, please let me know as well. It's always nice to have a critical friend that says, "Ish, you missed that link there," or like in the first game, this QR code isn't working anymore. So I am going to give you 5 minutes, and at 2:58 I will see you again. So please do the stretches. Thank you. Okay, I hope everyone had at least a quick stretch before we tackle the last hour, more or less, of our workshop. I promise I will try not to keep you longer than the time. Um, and if you have to leave, I know many of you have got childcare responsibilities and things that you cannot necessarily stay. So till the end. I maybe just want to then have a quick say and say thank you for those of you who started already before lunch and who played and struggled with us and solved riddles and mysteries and survived the island and the classroom. So for the next hour, I want us to actually go and look and see how do we create something on Google Forms so that you can recreate it yourself, and then what are the steps necessary, and hopefully, definitely hopefully, we are going to start working on your games. And again, in breakout rooms, this is the less nice part about doing these things online. In a real situation, real class, we would have been able to move between the tables and at least have some chocolate and if nothing else then cool drink. But now unfortunately I have to send you in these breakout rooms, but hopefully you make as Kevin said, you make Terence, one of the two, make good connections and you have good discussions as well. So I want to believe that everyone is back. We are steadily declining in numbers. And then another one left. So we are just a few people left, but let's see if we can make this work. We need okay. Let me quickly change the access link to this. Give me a minute to quickly change that. Thank you for Denise. Thank you for that. Okay. I am just going to excuse myself here for a minute. I quickly just problem solve on my computer, then I'll share the link with you again. In the meantime, please feel free to chat to one another.
While we are waiting for the facilitator to sort out the Google form, I just want to mention that we have a lucky draw going on, and I'm pasting the link again in the chat. So the winners will be announced in the closing session.
Okay, it seems as if I have lost myself here. So let's first continue, and then while you are plotting down your own story, I'll quickly fix this link, and then we can continue again. Sorry for that. Let me just quickly see if this link, one of these are working. And I ask one of you to quickly take this one for me. This also needs access, permission.
It needs access.
How is that possible? Okay, so it's not just make a copy. Does it ask you to ask me for access, or does it ask you to make a copy? Can I?
Irene, it asks you to request access.
Okay. Okay, I will fix that in a while. Thank you for that. Okay, let us work a little bit of the other things and then we'll come back to that one there. Yeah, that is the one that is not at this stage working. I will quickly fix that for us. When I fix this now, what I want you to look at then is how did and this is another example that I've used, and you will see that I didn't go all the way. I started with my story and then I stopped. But I want you in your groups to start looking at the branching, at the plotting of how did I link one section to another. And maybe before I continue much further than that, can I ask you, who of you are comfortable working on Google Forms? Who of you have created branching scenarios or games, or definitely branching scenarios on Google Forms? You can maybe just give me a thumbs up. Okay. Okay, we've got 2 people. Anyone else? All right. Okay, because I do not want to waste your time. If it doesn't help if all 10 people, or in this stage we are dwindling our numbers, all 7 of you know how to do that, then I don't want to waste your time trying to show it to you. Okay, we will try and see if we can have some exciting things to do with Google Forms then in a short while. So, but what I want you to do is you can pick you're going to be in 2 groups now. You can pick any platform that the person who is sharing their screen is comfortable with, but I want to suggest that you do not necessarily choose a difficult platform. Something as plain as an interactive whiteboard is very fine. Miro is fine. You can, if some of you might be familiar with with Twine, where you plot your stories and you can create your new story. I do not want to go into a tutorial on how to use Twine now. So if you are not familiar with Twine, there's nice. Then you can use Twine in your group and you can teach your group how to use Twine as well. If not, really basic whiteboard of Miro. Miro is also a very, very nice one. I love Miro as well. But what I want you to see, and it will, hopefully it will not be as complicated as this, but I want you to plot this story to see how does one storyboard a story. And I've tried this. I've received a free template from someone, and on the left-hand side you'll see I try to see, is the story flowing? Does the links work? And you would see it took me forever to finally found out that there was a broken link. And then when I fixed the link and I tried it again to see, okay, this is how it flows. But this is an ideal way for you as well, Antoine or wherever, to plot your story, to see that this is section A, this is how section A goes, and then to name your sections. Because to start on Google Forms from scratch and then to just hope that you will do a hit and run there is really, really challenging. It's doable, but it does take longer. So the value is do this exercise, and you can see my horrible handwriting, but do the exercise to look at your branchings, because then very often you can see, but okay, this branch here could maybe link to that one there. But what I also wanted to show you here is that if you look at this branch that I have here, there are, if I am not mistaken, I think 14 different outcomes to this scenario. And it really takes long to compile it. The student completes this one in 5 clicks. So you need to decide how extensive do you want to make your branches and how much time you want to spend. and how much time the student will spend. Because we don't necessarily want to spend 5 days compiling something so elaborate, and then the students spend 5 minutes on it and it's done. So when we plot our session, I want us to see if we can plot it. So let me first see if maybe this one will work. I had a few backups, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. And if it doesn't work, let me first try and find out. And then we will come back. Okay. Let me, while I fix this, first ask you to go again in your breakout rooms. I'm going to send you in 2 because we are losing people by the minute. I understand that you need to leave, but can I send you for 15 minutes, only 15 minutes, into 2 breakout rooms and ask you to start plotting your own game. And since we do not have much time, I think let's work with plagiarism, unless in your group you can reach consensus on a different topic. That's also fine. So I'm sending you into 2 groups. 15 minutes, do a drawing for me. If you look at the previous drawing that I have of how would you branch your scenarios. So give a little bit of input, you know, they have to select the correct way to reference this article. Yes, they cited it correct. No, they didn't. What's happening here? They are fired. They have remedial exercises. So one of those type of things. So for 15 minutes, I'm going to send you into 2 breakout rooms, and then we come back and then we work further. Everyone fine? It's always less fun to talk to a black screen, but I am going to ask, thank you, I'm going to ask Elsie to quickly send you into 2 breakout rooms. Thank you very much, everyone. Die bitter einders is hier. Elsie, I am just going to quickly try and fix this, and then I'll be back. Let me just click here. So anyone who wants to, yes, we have Rolandi, and then Andali, you had your hand up as well. So Rolandi, you first.
Irene, thank you for exposing me to this. I was a science teacher in my previous life, so gamification is not something high on my priority list, but the journey I took over the last 3 years landed me up in Articulate, but I've never worked in Storyline. I use Rise and I do it, you know, with interactive flip cards or whatever in between, but I've never ventured into Storyline, and after this I'm definitely going to invest some time and convert. I'm converted. That's what I wanted to say.
But it's really wonderful. And it's so easy actually if you build this in PowerPoint and you just import it into Storyline 3 and you have to do some of the tweaks there. But it's really easy and possible. But thank you very much for that. And I'm really glad to see that you can see the value of using it in your teaching. And Dali and then Terence. I hope I pronounced your names correct.
Yeah, it's underlined. Don't worry. Yeah, it was interesting, and I just kind of need to be careful. Like something like a red herring. If I threw that in with some of my students, they'd probably throw me with something. But yeah, it's nice to see different ways that you can incorporate other elements, like that little dual game and those things, into the gaming experience itself, as opposed to just having one area that you navigate through. So yeah, that was interesting, frustrating at times, but a lot of fun actually. I was actually one point asking, is this maybe part of the whole thing that we're supposed to experience frustration so that we don't do the same thing to our students?
You are 100% correct. Terence, you're up next.
Yeah, no, I think it was a really great game to showcase just, what is possible. With it's a little bit of skill that we can upskill. It doesn't take a long time to upskill on this, and it's just something fun that we can provide our students with. That's just different from the mundane lecture-focused teaching that often occurs. I love the little Easter eggs, like the red herring and the candle. And I love that you you kind of injected your personality into the game. It was really fun to play. And yeah, really enjoyed it. Great job.
Thanks. Anyone, and you are also welcome to say this, anyone who did this and thought, not my cup of tea? Because there are some students who will definitely feel that they do not like this. So anyone who feels, oh, maybe not? You are a very tactful and decent bunch. Thank you. And I think the main thing with games, and Lisa?
Hi. Yes, I think the people who are left in this session, they're actually very interested in this. I think if they were too frustrated, they didn't come back. I think that's probably, you've got the diehards left here. But from my point of view, I am with the facilitators, and I see value in this, and definitely for undergrads. And Kevin was in my group, and he also said, like, on plagiarism, on some of our rules that we want to engage and we want to make sure our students go through. And also the ICT group of students, they will love this and they will see the benefit of it. So I think that it is very powerful, but I think that also, as I say, and as you say, different people learn different ways. But I think it is a lovely way to showcase what is capable. And so thank you. So that was what I was going to say.
Thanks. And I am actually busy developing a game on plagiarism and I have my storyline, but I'll tell you about that storyline a little bit later. The presentation just before mine, or two presentations, I don't know if any of you have listened to Sean Patrick's one on how Bond died. They also made an escape room, and it's for their masters in public health students, and they loved it as well. So I think it's the way you pitched it. I like the Bitmojis and the cartoonish characters. This one was definitely a much more stylish, proper, professional one. So again, if you look at your audience and who is playing the game, you tailor it according to that. But thanks definitely for that. If I ask you, and maybe now by show of reactions, before you give the reactions, if you think of the first part of the session where I went through the theory with you, and you have to compare it with playing the game and engaging with the theory. Obviously, you went quicker through the game. Usually takes an hour because in the boring part, I gave you all the tips if you took notes there. But if you have to compare these two, can I ask by reactions, those of you who preferred the first one, to give a, I want to say a frown, a smiley face. Let's go with a smiley face. Who preferred the first method of conveying the information? If you can just go with reactions, smiley faces. Ooh. Okay, so there's some people that prefer the first one. And if you then have to choose, who of you would prefer the second way, even if you have to do it alone? Okay, great stuff. And this is important for our students as well. We need to tell our students we are doing different type of activities, just as not everyone will like the group work where they have to do a mind map. Not everyone will like a game. But not every class session will be mind maps, not every class session will be games. There will be some variety. And then obviously the expectation is that they will eagerly engage in all the activities. But yes, this is not for all the students, and that is also fine. So before, we've got about half an hour left before I have to, before we break for lunch. Do you want a quick 5-minute stretch and then we continue for half an hour? So those of you who need a stretch, just quickly give a yes. Then I'll give you a 5-minute stretch. Yes. Okay. Let's do a 5-minute stretch till 12:05, and then we'll do the next 25 minutes, and then we'll break for lunch. Oh, lunch is at 12:15. Oh, my dear. Okay. Since I've now said you can have a break, let's take a 5-minute break anyway, and then we'll continue. Sorry. Oh, yeah, sometimes I forget I'm sharing my screen and then all the programs and everything pops up. Sorry for that. Let me stop the share while we and now I lost the don't share button anymore. Okay, while everyone is stretching a little bit, when we come back at 12:05, we'll quickly look at some of the aspects of the game, and then we will break, and then we'll see how we're going to tackle the next game after lunchtime. Terence, yes.
Sorry, I didn't know if I should just put up my hand, but I wanted to ask you, have you used any off-the-shelf games? I know these are obviously custom games that you've made, but have you used any off-the-shelf games in your teaching?
No, partly because I'm too stingy now. But no, I haven't, and I think there's really some great games that's available. But is there any specific ones that you think that you can recommend?
So I've been testing a few with our students at Regenesis. We tested 2 Point Hospital. Have you ever heard of Theme Hospital? It's an older game.
Yes,
Yeah.
my husband and my daughter used to play that.
So this is a spiritual successor to Theme Hospital, which was, it's based in that humor, and I mean, it's a hospital that's basically always on fire. So we did I have the game on my account, and so we just did it with the MBA students, and we took it from the perspective of supply chain, so supply chain as a service. The service. I don't know business stuff. I don't know why I'm saying business terms when I don't know them. But yeah, and it went really well. And so I did a small conference on using a visual novel to help with reading. We still have to test the actual game on actual students, but I did test it with instructional designers and some educators, and it went really well. But yeah, there's a lot of games now, free games as well, that might be interesting to use in different spheres. So I just was just wondering if you tried it.
No, please. And I'll definitely want to chat to you a little bit later and maybe look into that things. I think if there's things that are available, I mean, why reinvent the wheel if there are good games available that one can use? I would definitely like to look at that. Thanks a lot for sharing that. I think
No
it's
problem.
valuable. Okay, I think since we only have 10 minutes before lunch start, I am quickly going to run through a few of these things because over lunchtime there is a yoga stretch session. And while you are stretching, and I know you're supposed to clear your mind, I do want you to think a little bit about your game while you are stretching during the lunchtime. So if we then quickly look at your game, because we are somewhere in this afternoon also going to start looking at your game, that you start thinking about what would be the purpose if you have a game and you create a game. What would be the purpose of this game? Why would you create it? What specific learning outcome do you want to address? So do you want the students to be able to manage a patient with diabetes or to talk to a difficult customer, whatever your outcome would be? And then is there specific skills and knowledge? What are those things that you want to assess? And how do you would like to play that? And where do you find inspiration? Like Terence said now, there's games on the shelf that you can play. So is there other games that you've played that you maybe can link to and think about and use? And lastly is that when you design your game, it is really important. This is a concept that Clarissa Sutherland shared at the previous stage, which is that every part of the game is important. The student, the theme, and the game itself. But you have to keep the student in your back of your mind. And then this theme that you have. So if your theme is you are on an island, then you have to pull that theme through. If you're on a ship, that's the theme you pull through. And it just makes it more immersive for the students to play the game. But, and this is what I've said earlier as well, when you start with your game, don't be like me and start with a game and then fit the content in. Start with your content first. It makes it much easier if you know, these are the concepts I want to teach. I want to focus on plagiarism. I want to focus on the 10 types of plagiarism. I want them to be able to identify some paraphrasing that's wrong. I want them to look at platforms that expose plagiarism. So these are the 5 or 6 main things I want them to look at, and then you start designing your story. And I've got a huge whiteboard on the other side of my office, and I draw the circles, and I do the sticky note things and move that when I plan my game. But make sure that when you start that you know what is the content that you want to use. And there's a link at the bottom of my PowerPoint, and I'll share the link of a very, very nice TED Talk where, what is his name? Christopher talks about how he used escape rooms in their teaching, and it's really worth watching his video clip. Then there's software that you can use, and I'll put this in the chat as well if you want to look at it a little bit later. We are not going to play with this today, but it does help if you have a storyboarding template when you want to start creating your game. And now, and these are the things I said I want you maybe to start thinking during lunchtime, and we'll come back to this. What is your focus area? What's your topic for your game? So would this, for instance, be diabetes mellitus? Will it be communication skills? What is your focus? And when we come back, we are going to stop at each one of these for now. So I want you to start think about that. Think about the purpose of your game. Why do you want the students to play this game? Is it going to be a single game or a team-based game? How long is it going to be? Is it going to be digital? Digital in our case, it's going to be, but it doesn't have to be always in the future. And the cost. And the cost is not the cost only in developing it or paying someone to develop it, but also the cost in time. The time you will have to budget for, but also the time the student have to budget for when they play this game. So I don't want to continue now because then we're going to stop midway through our brainstorming exercise. Sorry, I really thought the lunch was 12:30, but I'm going to stop here, and then we will come back at 12:45, and we will look at this. And please come back because we have another game to play that is different, but we need participants for that. I'll stay behind now for 5 minutes or so if you have any questions. Otherwise, I would see you after lunch.
Okay.
That's right.
So we are now, I don't know why there's an echo. But please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we are now going to go on a lunch break in Kumo space. Please join us and interact with the other attendees and the presenters. We've got 4 rooms in Kumo space, so please join a room that has people in it. There are also some videos that you can watch. Also leave us some feedback on the virtual wall in the network and space and chill space. So the lunch break ends at 13:15, and you can refer to the program for the link to join the workshop again. I'll paste the link to Kumo Space in the program in the chat now. So the first link is for the Kumo Space, and the second one is for the program, where you will see the session links. Thank you.
Can I quickly ask, is lunch half an hour or an hour? Lunch is an hour. Oh gosh, and I told everyone come back in half an hour time. So sorry, thanks for that. All right, perfect. So I will see you, hopefully, I hope, back at 13:15 then, and then we will think and play and hopefully survive and escape. So see you in an hour's time. Thank you, everyone. But I am still here if someone wants to quickly ask, or if you struggled with the game and you want to check quickly with me during lunchtime, you are also welcome. Okay, so before tea time or before lunch, we looked a little bit at some of the games and some of the game principles, and in the chat I have posted a link to there's load shedding. Yep, that's the sad part. In the chat I've posted a link to the PowerPoint I've used. And this was the precursor to the game you played earlier on, that's on Storyline 3. And sometimes when people look at these games, it seems a bit overwhelming in the sense of, I don't know if I will be able to create this. And we do not need fancy platforms and fancy apps and tools. It helps. It definitely helps to make it look a little bit more professional sometimes. But if you download the PowerPoint, you're more than welcome to download it and play with it a little bit. You'll see that this is basic PowerPoint. This is basic PowerPoint with hyperlinks. And I'll share the link again. Yes, let me quickly share the link. Let me just copy and paste. And let me just put in all the words there. Okay, so there is the link that, oh, I see us. Okay, so you are welcome to download it. Do not necessarily play with it now in the next 2 or 3 hours. We will have plenty other things to play with. But again, as I said, you are welcome to see how it works, how did the hyperlinks work, and how can you put in images and movement in that. And even if you look at the PowerPoint, you'll see there's not really movement. It's just hyperlinks between slides and connecting the slides that you can use. And hopefully you can use something like that to create a game for your own students. But let us continue. Before I misjudged the time and thought we would have more time and then less time, and then I let you go to lunch earlier on, we touched on storyboarding. And I ask you to think a little bit over lunchtime, hopefully, to think of your own storyboard. And I'll come back to this slide because I want you to blop down a few or write down a few of these things. So, but we need to start and think, why? Why do I need the story? On what will it focus? And how long will it be? And what will the, as we said before lunch, what would be the cost? And the cost not only in financial cost, but also cost in time, in human resources, and in input from your side and from the student's side as well. Then the next part we want to think about, and this is where this is the fun part. I must admit that the previous part, it's the academic sound part where we have to think about the learning outcomes. But then we came to this part of storyboarding, and this is the fun part. We start to dream up the scenario, and I can sometimes get carried away and have this elaborate scenario. And one must also need to see that you contain it in such a way that it doesn't become, again, overwhelming for the students. And that's what I've heard from some of my students where I use the games in my game as learning workshops or courses, where they say, you know, I'm not into the story. Can I just do the activities and just submit and get it over and done with? And that is also fine. So we need to find the balance between not an entire series of stories, but also not go play the game and escape and you're all well. So what is your synopsis, and how elaborative do you want to make this synopsis? Then you need to decide how many challenges you will have, and what type of challenges. Do you want to have things like crossword puzzles, and you will see the pixel art reveal challenge that is in the game that we're going to play now as well, or a crossword puzzle, or what are the type of challenges? Will it be problem solving challenges? Will it be just multiple choice kind of challenges that they have to solve? So what do you want to add there? And then obviously there needs to be a hero in the story. So someone needs to save everyone, needs to be able to unlock the door, to be able to phone a friend, So there must be a hero, and most of the time the hero is the student playing because he or she is saving the rest of the group. It helps if there's a helper. So if phone a friend. The game you are going to play now, when I used it in my previous class, one of the students was kind of upset and he said, we got stuck and we didn't know how to get out. And then his girlfriend in the other group said, but why didn't you phone a friend? Why didn't you ask the facilitator for help? And he's like, I didn't know we could do that. And she said, yes, it was in the instructions. You could phone a friend. So how do you build a helper into your session so that if the students get stuck or the player gets stuck, that there's at least a way out? And it doesn't necessarily have to be that they have to come back to the main room. It can be that you've included a QR code which they can scan and where they can get the answer, or a URL that they can click and it shows them where to go to and help and give them the answer. Then, depending on the kind of synopsis you have, it's sometimes nice if there's a villain, and you'll see in the game I played the villain. No, the crew played the villain. I was not the villain. I was part of the hero team, I remember now. And then again, as we said, the celebration afterwards, which we really want to celebrate them. So you need to decide also how many clues you want to have, how extensive the clues must be, how extensive the challenges must be, how many locks will you have. So you will see in the game, and again, as we're going to play now, each session has its own lock, and if you do not unlock that session, you cannot progress to the next session. It's not a difficult game, so please don't leave. I see people leave and leave and leave the session. It's not a difficult game, so, and you will be in groups. So, but you need to decide how many locks you want in there, on which platform. As I've said, my first one was on PowerPoint. I converted it to Storyline 3. The one you're going to play in, or the first one's on story. The second. Let me start again. The first one that I created was on PowerPoint, and then I converted it to Storyline 3, and the one you played was on Storyline 3 connected to a Google form. Those of you, the group who missed the Google form, there was a Google form as well. Now the third game we're going to play, or the next game, is only on Google Forms. That is a free platform. It's easy to create. I want to show you how to create it, and it's really worth your time to look into that. And that is also one of the platforms we can ask our students to create games on as an assignment. Always coffee. I'm not allowed to put wine in here, so always copious amounts of coffee because it takes long to create these games. You can't create it the night before or the morning of your class. As I said, the previous one, 3 days and 3 nights, copious amounts of coffee to get to that short game that you played in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then you start designing. So if I can show it in the crux of what we have to do here is, who's your audience, what is your backdrop, and what's the props that you need. Now this looks very nice and everything. What I've done, and let's see if I can open it with that. Ah, there you go. Now I'll open it a little bit larger. So this is my planning document. This is the little bit more boring part, but it's really necessary to do that properly. Where I started to look and see, okay, what is this game? What is the discipline? And in my case, it's didactic and pedagogy. What is the credit course? So in our instance, 1 US credit is 60 hours. So this is a 60-hour course, and this will be one part of the 60-hour course. What's my purpose? And you really don't have to read it. I actually just wanted to show you. So you have to put all of these things in. And so where will it be? What's the platform? What's the plot? What's the hook I'm going to have? How many challenges? So spoiler alert, there's 9 challenges in the next game. How will they get feedback? And then how will I get feedback? And you will see this is still in the design phase. And actually, you should design it with your game. But what kind of feedback do I want from my students? Do I want feedback on their learning? Or do I want feedback on the entire session? Is it easy to use? How do they navigate the game? So this is a planning document. I also plan it, as I said previously, on a whiteboard with sticky notes as well. I want to give you quickly, before I continue, just 1 minute. 1 minute to write down an idea for your game. So I'll start the clock, and Siri wants to help. 1 minute. And you don't have to share it. It's personal. Just write it down somewhere. Okay, so hopefully you have an idea of what you want to do, and we will unpack that a little bit later on. So there's a question. So how is the backdrop challenge different from the props challenge? So the backdrop is the backdrop to our story. You are on an island. You've lost your phone. You need to escape the classroom. So that is your backdrop, your synopsis. These are the people that plays a part in your story. And then the props are the things that you're going to embed in this. So it will be the newspaper article, the phone a friend, those clues, the challenges that embeds into that. So I hope that answered the question. So, but they are all still interlinked into one another. Okay. Then after you've created, oh, sorry, now my nose is itching. Then after you've created this entire story and you created all the activities in it, now you need to create a buzz for your students. They need to know that something is happening. So you can send a QR code with a message and they can scan the message. We made some short trailers that we uploaded on YouTube on the private channel, and we sent the private link to the students or to the participants, and they can, and hopefully to entice them a little bit and get them the emotional buy-in for the course as well. Now, there's a lot of platforms that you can pay to do this, but there's also free options like Powtoon has got a free short video clip that you can make. But you can even make it a normal voice video like this. You put your camera on and say, guys, this is wonderful. We are going to do this. But you need to create some excitement for your game. And that is, if you think back of that 3 circles that I shared from Clarissa, we say you have to embed, you have to commit to the game. So you have to be excited about this. If you are not excited about this, then the students obviously will not be excited about this either. One of the other things that I've done previously is I've made a little cartoon story to say, well, you are now invited to this journey. And I know the screen is very small, you can't really read it, but it tells the student that they are going to go on an adventure, and there will be clues and there will be riddles, but there will also be people to help them that they can ask, and then they have to venture on this journey. And hopefully, in this case, the poor professor, that would be me, that was captured, and they will come and save me. But this then links to all the plagiarism riddles and things that they have to solve. Once again, some students might find this very childish, they don't like it. Some students might love it. So again, your balance, and you will know your audience as well. You will know if your students will not enjoy something like this. So, keeping in mind the aspects we had previously, those things, I'm going to first let you play the game now again. And then we're going to start to unpack the game. We're going to start to create your own game. But I want you to think of these things as well when you play the next game. Now I'm going to give you an hour, and I know an hour sounds very long. Trust me, it is not. So you need to partner, and we have a small group. So I think at this stage, how many? Will we make 3 groups? I think 3 groups. Hopefully no one will accidentally fall off the group. We'll make 3 groups, and if there's no one in your group, if they forgot to say they are gone and they just left, please come back to the main room and then we'll allocate you to another group. But what we now want to do, and again, before you click on anything, just quickly listen first. This will be the code, and I will put the link to the game in the chat as well. Or is Elsie here? Elsie will put it. Thank you, Elsie. We'll put it in the chat. But you are now, if I can, you are going to do the same thing again. First, do the role allocation, and the link for this spinner will be in the game, so you don't have to scan it now. And it will take you to a form that looks like this. Now I must just find it before the wrong thing pops up again. Okay, there. It will take you to this type of form, and you need to follow the instructions and progress from one challenge to another. Now, as I've previously experienced, when people start to play the game, most probably not you, but some of my students, they get so overexcited they miss some of the instructions. So again, the instruction, if you get stuck, phone a friend. One of us will be in the main room. So if you really can't progress, give us a shout, give us a call, and you can bribe us with chocolate, and then we might give you a clue. One of the clues, and again, this comes from previous experience, where some of the students said it would have been nice to have an idea how many challenges and clues there was, and this might look familiar to you when you start the game. So again, people get so excited sometimes about the game that they miss these things. So make very sure that when you incorporate that in your game, that it is clear that the students know these are some of the tips that you are giving them, or that you are embedding in the game. So, before I send you to your games, any questions? Let me quickly look here in the chat. Okay, that is funny. But let's hope your students love you and they want to rescue you. So, I'm going to give you an hour, and as I said, an hour feels very long. It's not. And please go and enjoy the situation, and please come home safe after an hour. But I will see you in the breakout rooms as well. So there's the link in the chat. I just want to click the link as well and double check that it is the right one. Yes. Okay. Any questions, concerns, sadness? Everyone fine? Okay. Give a smile, and then we'll wish you up. We'll wish you away to an island of your dreams. Elsie, please take them away. And I must stop sharing. Thank you very much, Elsie. I appreciate. if you, as the moderators, wants to pop into the breakout rooms and play along, you are welcome, and I will remain in the main room. Otherwise, you can just give me a shout if you'd rather prefer to remain in here. Otherwise, I'm going to send you to the breakout rooms.
Yeah, I see Elsie is moving.
Great stuff. You are also welcome if you want to go and have a look and see what they are doing.
All right, I'll go just now.
Okay, no pressure, but if you want to, you're welcome. I think I'm also going to stop recording again because they are going to be away for an hour now.
Oh, okay.
You're back in the main room. So welcome back, and sorry for so rudely interrupting some of you who were just having a nice chat and just catching speed and doing really great things. As always in the workshops, I have obviously prepared way too many activities, so we're going to leave some of the activities that we've planned. At least we have worked through a few of them, and I think we have made really good progress. And for me, the value is really in the sharing and in the supporting one another, and brainstorming and talking through these things and see what is possible. I have shared the link to the other form that I wanted us to play with, but please feel free to make a copy for yourself, and there you can see, and I started with a scenario and then I just went from question, wrong answer, correct answer, so that you have a template on which you can play a little bit with. It's not necessarily a good template as is, but it's a start for those of you who are not familiar with Google Forms to just get your thinking processes. But I want to suggest that before you use it, you do the plotting exercise where you start and see how does it link, where does everything fit into one another. And a last thing before I ask you, let me first do that. How was the exercise? I saw a lot of discussions and a lot of excitement in both the groups. How was it to plot this, to do the scenario branching for you?
We had fun, I think, coming up with outlandish paths for our scenario.
It sounded as if the groups were having fun, so I'm really, really glad that you did. Now, in wrapping up, I want to say thank you, and please make sure that when you use the games, that there must be some fun in it, and the students must enjoy it. In one of the other groups, I've shared this repository. It's mine, and I don't mind sharing it with you, and you can use it. You can share it with other people. I honestly don't mind. This is a list of resources that I have collected as I went along, and I quickly want to just show you what it looks like in the back end. So you will see if you scroll down, there is a lot of resources, and you are more than welcome. If you want to keep it, play with it, share it with someone else, as I said, I honestly don't mind. This is a very nice app. It's not necessarily for game-based learning or for gamification, but it's a great way if you have a lot of resources that you want to share with your students just in time. Sharing it on the LMS is really a great way of sharing content with your students, but sometimes you want something that's quick on their phones that they don't necessarily want to go via the LMS. So this is one of the apps that I've just used. It's an easy to use app and it's free. As you know me by now, I like free stuff. It's a free app. And there's a paid option which you can do more with, but the free option is really quite significant enough or substantial enough for what we want to do and what I want to do with the tools. And then to wrap it up, the last 1 minute activity for the day before I let you go. Quickly scan the QR code, save the snowman, and then you can go and remember the lucky draw. So I'm going to give you just 1 minute for the snowman. Maybe I must do it too. So put a letter in there and press the green. And shout bingo if you have the word. Then that will be the winner and we can conclude. Oh, okay. Well done, Kevin. I was still at the first letter, so I have to stop there. Okay. Let me close this. All right, everyone, let me stop the sharing and all the things. Is there any last questions, concerns that you feel you want to voice and maybe soundboard against the rest of the group? I know it's been a really long day, but is there something that you just quickly want to soundboard and say, I'm worried? Okay, right. Then I hope I have excited you at least to use the games. If you're not worried, that's good. I appreciate you not being worried. So if there are no grave concerns or questions, I'm going to say thank you and goodbye. You have my contact details. I'll quickly share it again on screen, but you are more than welcome if you want to connect, if you want to ask any questions. As I said, I'm not an expert on this. I just love trying new things, and as you've seen in the workshop, sometimes it doesn't always work, and that is also part and parcel of playing with technology. But feel free to reach out to have a virtual coffee with me, and best of luck. Have fun and do great things with your students. So from my side, goodbye, into the lucky draw, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow in some of the other sessions.
Thank you for joining us and sharing all these insights with us, Irene. We've come to the end of day one. We hope you found the conversation stimulating and enriching. So we do have a lucky draw going on, and the winners will be announced in the closing session. Please join us for that. And then again for tomorrow's sessions, remember to refer to the live program for the session links. I'm pasting the chat, the link to the live program right here. Again, for your convenience. Good luck with the lucky draw.